So Gary Kasparov, I worked with him for a period in 2011, and he had his vaunted database, with all these variations and lines and all these different things. And if a player played the game and they were not a GM, so for example, let's just say Topolov or Kramnik are playing a game. In the database, the text would say Topolov versus NN, and I would go take a look at the game, of course, in the database. And the players, these were not weak players. These were like masters or international masters. Even some of them were like 2,500 GMs. And in the text that Gary would put in, it would say no name, basically implying that like a 2,500 doesn't deserve to have a name, or they shouldn't be recognized, which was really, really funny. Let's see, how many of these fastest checkmates do I even know? Honestly, I'm going to tell you guys, I don't know many. I know the 4-move checkmate. I know the 2-move checkmate. There's one where you move like you play a Bond Cloud and you get checkmated on E4, I think. But that's probably the extent of the fastest checkmates that I know. So let's see what they are. The 10 fastest checkmates. Learning basic checkmates is one of the most important things a chess player can do when starting their journey through the magnificent labyrinth of chess. By learning the following checkmates, you can avoid some quick losses and maybe even notch some quick wins yourself. Whether you are a beginner, advanced beginner, or intermediate player, these 10 checkmates are extremely important to know. Don't catch yourself on the wrong side of these checkmating patterns, which all result in checkmate in 8 moves or less. Okay, let's see what they are. Okay, the Fool's Mate, I know. The Grob's attack is probably F3 G4. I thought it was just a 2-move checkmate, but anyway, yeah, there's the Grob's attack, the Scholar's Mate, the Dutch defense, and the Bird's opening. Those ones I don't know. Caro-Kann defense smothered mate, I know of that one with the knight to d6. Italian game smothered mate, I assume the Italian game smothered mate is the one that has a name for it. They didn't put a name on. There's the Owens defense, the England gambit, the Budapest defense smothered gambit. Conclusion. All right, so let's go. Fool's checkmate. Fool's mate is the fastest checkmate possible in chess, and it occurs after only 2 moves. Don't worry, you can't be forced into this checkmate unless you make 2 bad moves in a row. How hard is it to avoid making 2 bad moves in a row, you guys? Here is the Fool's Mate in action, as you guys see in the diagram. Boom, checkmate. All right. Okay. In order for Fool's Mate to be performed, white must move their G-pawn up 2 squares and their F-pawn up 1 or 2 squares in the first 2 consecutive moves. These 2 moves fatally weaken the E1 to H4 diagonal, which black can move their queen to after moving their E-pawn on the first move. This is called Fool's Mate for a reason. White must make 2 foolish moves in a row in order for black to conduct the checkmate. All right, pretty normal. Let's keep going. Some of you may be wondering if the same mating pattern can be used with the white pieces, and the answer is C. Black can lose in an identical fashion to Fool's Mate, but it takes an extra move. If black moves their F-pawn up 1 or 2 squares and then moves their G-pawn up 2 squares, white can deliver checkmate on move 3 in what could be referred to as the reversed Fool's Mate. So of course, as an example, we have it here: E4 F6, D4 G5, Queen H5, mate in 3. All right. So how can one avoid Fool's Mate? All you have to do is keep your F-pawn on F2 or F7 at the beginning of the game. Before a game even begins, the squares F2 and F7 are the weakest squares on the chessboard because they are only protected by the king. If you move your F-pawn early, you are only inviting dangerous attacks. All right, keep going. Grob attack, Fool's Mate pattern. The Grob's attack is an offbeat opening that isn't very popular but has some devoted followers. It begins with 1 G4. All right. White's normal plan in this opening is to fianchetto the light square bishop to G2, where it will have strong influence on the H1 to A8 diagonal. Just like in any opening, a singular lapse in the early moves can spell doom. What is this? So G4. Oh, but it's just the same thing with F4. Okay, it's the same checkmate. It's just the same checkmate. Never mind. I don't know why this list is separate mate, but anyway, it is. All right. Okay. Grob's attack is one of the few openings that can allow Fool's Mate on move 2 if white misplays. This checkmate, let me scroll up. This checkmate could have been easily avoided if white had played the normal Grob's attack move to bishop G2. The checkmate above is just another reminder to keep your F-pawn at home at the beginning of the game, as Grandmaster Benjamin would say. If you're going to move your G-pawn early to fianchetto your light square bishop, maybe try moving your G-pawn to G3 instead of the G4 square. We will be seeing the Fool's Mate pattern more in this article. All right, Scholar's Mate. Scholar's Mate. Scholar's Mate is usually one of the first checkmates that players learn or experience. The concept is simple. White targets the f7 square with both their queen and bishop early in hopes of delivering checkmate in 4 moves. Here is the Scholar's Mate in action. So let me scroll up so that you guys can see it after. But I will give you guys a fun story about the Scholar's Mate. So this is just ancient history, but I started playing chess when I was 7 years old. Now I started playing, I was very bad at the beginning, did very poorly in tournaments, very upset, very angry, all this stuff. So I probably played chess for about 6 months, I think it was, and then my parents were like, you know what, it's not going well, your brother's already a very strong chess player, maybe chess just isn't for you. So they stopped me from playing for roughly, I think it was about like 4 or 5 months probably, and then after 4 or 5 months they're like, okay, well, we'll let you play again. So I played a tournament, and I even remember where this was in Newburgh, New York. And I was playing this tournament against other kids, of course. I was back, and the first 3 games are very easy. They're very smooth. I won all 3 of the games, so I'm on 3-0, or 3 points out of 3. And in the final round, I played this kid. His name is Christopher Belcher. I still know him to this day. And I played him in the 4th and final round of this event, and I actually lost to the 4-move checkmate. I had the black pieces. I think he played e4, and I think I played Sicilian, or did I play e5? I played c5 or e5, and I actually lost the 4-move checkmate. So that was my comeback after the 6-month break, and I won the first 3 games against other kids, and I lost the 4-move checkmate in the final round of the event. So it was very, very funny. Do I think that was reverse psychology to motivate you to learn more? Maybe it was. Did I rage? I don't think I raged. I think I was just confused. I think I was just confused by it. But anyway, yeah, that's story time for today. So it was maybe, who knows, maybe that 4-move loss was really good for me, because maybe that's what inspired me to study and get better at chess. I don't think I raged at the time. I think I was just confused by it. I was just confused. And of course, like, I don't have a score sheet or anything to prove it, but I remember the game, and I suspect my parents might remember it as well. All right. Okay, so Scholar's Mate, let's get back here. So here's the Scholar's Mate. So yeah, so this is a Scholar's Mate in 4, e4, e5, bishop c4. I'll let the GIF run through one more time so you guys can see it to its true conclusion. You were very bad at chess. Everybody was very bad at chess when they started. So yeah, and there's the 4-move checkmate. All right, so let's keep going. In order to perform this checkmate, you must start with 1 e4 that allows both the light squared bishop and queen to develop on the following moves. After 1 e4, white can develop the queen or the bishop. The bishop will always arrive at the c4 square as it targets f7 from the square. The queen can go to either h5 or f3 to target the f7 square. How can you defend against Scholar's Mate? Once white has attacked the f7 square with their queen, you simply defend the f7 square with queen e7 or queen f6 to block the queen's attack with g7, g6 if white's queen is on h5. So basically, as you see, all XQC had to do was literally read an article for 30 seconds, and he would have known how to stop the 4-move checkmate. So let's keep going. Watch this great video lesson on the Scholar's Mate if you'd like to learn more. All right, now we have the Dutch defense. The Dutch defense is an offbeat opening choice, but is employed by players at all levels, from beginners to grandmasters. There are more than a couple of fast checkmates to note in this opening, including the 5-move mate below. Dutch defense begins with 1 f5 in response to d4. Well, XQC actually walked into the 4-move checkmate a few times, I think. Not his game against Charlie, but he walked into it elsewhere. Although the game against Charlie is what, 5 moves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 moves. Yeah, 6 moves. What is the checkmate? Is this one with e4, queen h5? I'm trying to think what the mate is, because I'm not actually sure. So let's see. As you can see, 1 f5 takes control of the e4 square early, but weakens black's king side. If black is not careful, they can get checkmated early. Here's one example. Okay, so what is this example? d4 f5, bishop g5. Oh, it's this one. Yes, it's this one where actually, though, you guys, very poor, very, very poor, because this article is wrong. So I'm going to now make a new board here, you guys. Let me make an analysis board so you can see this. Very poor, very, very poor, you guys. I expect better out of people writing the articles. They let me change the scene, because the line they gave is a mistake, and I'll tell you why. So after d4 f5, bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, g5, the correct move is bishop to g3 here, because if white plays pawn to e4, black goes bishop g7, And if you go queen h5, king f8, bishop g3, I go f4, and your bishop gets trapped. I think there was a name for this. This is Salasker hook, where the bishop is trapped on g3. Now, mind you, white is still in the game. It's only very slightly better for black. So the correct order, and this is actually modern line theory, by the way, you guys, is that you're supposed to go bishop to g3, because now when black plays f4, you have the aha moment. You go pawn to e3, attacking the pawn on f4, and if black takes bishop, you go checkmate. If black goes like bishop g7, you just take the pawn. Voila, you're up a pawn and you're winning the game. Only applies to grandmaster level, yes, you guys. But this mate is slower, yes. You can play e4, but after bishop g7, white, I don't think this is great for white, as I recall. Let's see, maybe the computer says it's okay, but I don't think this is winning for white, because I've had this position in actual games. A computer is giving white some kind of edge now as I let it run deeper, but it's still very, very complex. So I've had this position, and always my games go bishop g3, and I think I play knight f6, or I've gone bishop g7 and then e3, and the game goes on. Dude, all mates mentioned this article require incorrect play. True, but this one is correct theory, you guys. I gotta gatekeep the chess theory, because I don't want someone who's 500 playing e4 here, because after their opponent goes bishop g7, bishop g3, f4, they lose the game, and then they're unfortunately gonna sue chess.com, because chess.com wrote an article and they lost the game because of it, which of course it then defames their character, and you know, they're never gonna improve at chess. So no, we can't have this going on, you guys. Not at all. It's not acceptable. So yes, all right, let's go back to the article. Let's go back to the article, of course. Elitist, no, you guys know what I'm referring to when I did that. We don't need to pretend. You guys know exactly what I'm saying there. Yes, it's a false light. It's impugning your character. It's impugning your character because you lost the game. That's going to affect your work performance later. You're not going to have confidence when you go to work. Or if, you know, say you go to work and you're going to play your coworker, because you lost that game in 6 moves, you know, you're not going to have that confidence, and it's going to psychologically impact you in a very negative way. So, yeah, you know, it's like, it's very serious. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so they have e4 here, g takes h4, queen h5. So let's keep going. All right. Just like we saw in the Fool's Mate section, if a player moves their f-pawn early, which is done on move 1 in the Dutch, as well as their g-pawn, then they are asking for trouble. The bird's opening, Fool's Mate pattern. Bird's opening begins with 1 f4, which takes space in the center and controls the e5 square. Unfortunately, the move also weakens white's king side. Alright, as we have learned many times now, moving the f-pawn early in the opening is a dangerous idea. If black is aware of the Fool's Mate and isn't afraid to gambit a pawn in the opening, then this awesome queen sacrifice checkmate can occur in only 6 moves. Alright, so which one is this? This is the bird is the word. It's a black gambits a pawn, knight c3, queen h4, g3, sack, and checkmate. Very classic checkmate, and a very nice one. Now this one, by the way, you guys, the good thing is there's a blunder, but this is correct theory, so no worries about you know, some bad line, and it's not gonna ruin your life. All right, Caro-Kann defense, smothered mate. The Caro-Kann defense is known as one of the most solid openings that black can play. However, even in the solid opening, there are quick checkmates to be aware of. The Caro-Kann defense begins after 1 e4 c6 to d4 d5. All right, as you can see, black has supported the d5 pawn push with 1 c6 and now has a strong presence in the center. All chess players must be vigilant, regardless of the openings they play. In this particular 6-move checkmate, black failed to be alert at the key moment, and we see our first example of a smothered mate. Alright, so e4 c6, d4 d5, knight c3, takes 6, knight d7, queen e2, knight gf6, and spaghetti-o, knight to d6, checkmate. And it's a smothered checkmate. You can't take the knight because the queen would capture your king. So yeah, this one is pretty legendary. Okay, the first time a player sees the checkmating pattern, it leaves a long-lasting impression, and for good reason. We will see the smothered mate a couple more times in this article. The thing to keep in mind about these early smothered mates is to always be alert when an enemy queen is lined up against your king. Black could have avoided this quick checkmate by playing 5 knight df6, 5 queen c7, 5 e6, or any other moves that gave their king some breathing room. Okay, let's go. Now there's the Italian game smothered mate. Staying on the same theme of smothered mate, we will now examine a 7-move smothered mate that occurs in the Italian game. The Italian, or the Gucci piano, is a very popular opening at all levels and begins after 1 e4 e5, 2 knight f3 knight c6 3 bishop c4. All right, as we found out in the Caro-Kann section above, there are early checkmates and well-known openings, and not just offbeat or possibly unsound openings like Grob's attack or Bird's opening. Check out this wonderful smothered mate in the Italian opening. Oh, so this is the Blackburn shilling, which we're playing in our trick speedrun, by the way. So maybe we'll get a checkmate in the speedrun, which we're continuing very shortly with the Blackburn shilling. So queen g5, knight f7, queen g2, rook f1, queen takes e4, bishop e2, and now knight f3. Smothered mate, very, very nice line that I think everybody is aware of. It's of course a classic trick. Okay, 7 knight f3 is a beautiful winning stroke that delivers checkmate similar to 6 knight d6. 6 knight d6 in the Caro-Kann smothered mate. White had to make a couple of mistakes to lose this game so quickly. 4 knight takes d4 would have avoided all the complications. Whether you play 1 e4 as white or 1 e5 as black, this checkmate is incredibly important to be aware of. Owen's defense, fool's mate pattern. Owen's defense is another offbeat opening that can have the fool's mate checkmating pattern. It aims to fianchetto the light square bishop quickly. Okay, you may be asking yourself, how can the fool's mate checkmating pattern happen from this position? Check out the game below to see a beautiful queen sacrifice checkmate. This game was won by Giacomo Greco in 1619. Okay, so let's see. So this is a game between Giacomo Greco against No Name. Now there are a lot of questions about these games, by the way, you guys, which is that these games that were played by Giacomo Greco, the Italian chess player in the 1600s, there's a lot of suspicion that these games were never played, and that in fact these were basically studies or compositions for them. That being said, you guys, yeah, you see No Name. I'll give you guys a fun story. I've said this before on stream, but again, there are always new people watching the stream. So Garry Kasparov, I worked with him for a period in 2011, and he had his vaunted database, you know, with all these variations and lines and all these different things. And one thing that I thought was very funny is that in ChessBase you can make your notes and say, you know, who the game was played by. And if a player played the game and they were not a GM, so for example, let's just say Topolov or Kramnik are playing a game. In the database, the text would say Topolov versus NN, and I would go take a look at the game, of course, in the database, and the players, these were not weak players, these were like masters or international masters. Even some of them were like 2,500 GMs, and in the text that Gary would put in, it would say No Name, basically implying that like a 2,500 doesn't deserve to have a name, or they shouldn't be recognized, which was really funny. So I thought I would just share that story. So yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, Savage, yeah. 2,500 FIDE equals noob for Kasparov. Yeah, basically I would see that very often, and I would go look, so it would be like you'd see some game and it'd be like a Kramnik or Topolov, and you're like, okay, it says Topolov versus NN. Yeah, I mean, I don't have that database on my computer here at TSM, but I'll definitely take a screenshot and show you guys at some point. This NN guy played so much stronger, he should be proud. Yeah. So anyway, thought I would just mention that in regards to NN, because Gary picked that up and he used that in his database all the time. Okay, so anyway, getting back to this game, there are a lot of questions about these games of Greco, and a lot of people suspect that they were not actual games being played. They were that they were studies or compositions, and I'm inclined to think probably they were, but nonetheless, you know, it's what it is. So e4 b6 is played, d4 bishop b7, bishop d3 f5, pawn takes bishop g2, queen h5, g6 takes, and knight f6. Now the funny thing is, you guys, I think I've actually played this in blitz games and gotten away with it, because after bishop to g7 there are only limited ways for white to be winning by force, and it's not trivial, but that's not the purpose of this article, so we won't get into the specifics. Knight f6 is played here, pawn takes pawn, knight h5, bishop g6, checkmate. 1619, yes, you guys, this is a game. I suspect, like I said, I suspect this isn't a real game. This was a study, but nonetheless, this was something that Greco discovered in 1619. And obviously, you know, at that time, chess was being evolved, and there was still a lot of room for creative play. Okay. Similar to the queen sacrifice checkmate using the fool's mate pattern that we saw in the Bird's opening section, this checkmate from the 17th century should leave an impression. The moral of the story: don't move your f-pawn too early in the opening. Once again, GM Benjamin says that all the time. All right, England Gambit. The England Gambit is another offbeat opening, but is popular at the club level thanks to international masters like Levy Rosman. Black immediately challenges the d4 pawn after 1 d4 e5. This is an opening that contains a lot of traps. If you are a tactical player who likes tricks, you should check out the England Gambit in Explorer. One of the many tricks in this gambit ends with white getting checkmated in only 8 moves. Okay, so this is d4 e5. Right, this is a classic trick. Takes, queen e7, knight f3, knight c6, bishop f4, queen b4, bishop d2 takes, bishop c3, bishop b4, queen d2 takes, and queen c1. I think everybody has seen this. So this is checkmate. You guys see it, don't you? Oh, sorry, you guys don't see it. Sorry. Yeah, you don't see it. Okay, well, everybody's seen this line. So the way it goes is takes here, check here, takes, and queen c1. Classic checkmate, which everybody is familiar with. Subtle addition to the article. Yeah. Okay. We've done many viewer arenas on this too, by the way. I can't think of a faster way to checkmate on the back rank. White had to make a few large mistakes to allow a specific checkmate. 6 knight c3 is a natural and strong move that gives white a large lead in development. Another way to avoid all these types of positions as white is to simply return the pawn while maintaining your development lead after knight c3, knight takes e5, e4. If you want to get tricky with the white piece against the England Gambit, you can try knight c3, knight takes e5, knight d5. All right, let's keep going. The Budapest defense smothered mate. The Budapest defense is similar to the England Gambit as it also has a quick e7 e5 pawn push. It starts with 1 d4 knight f6, 2 c4 e5. Okay, there's the position. Let's keep going. As you can see, the Budapest defense challenges white's d-pawn very quickly. The only difference between this starting position and the England Gambit are the inclusion of c2 c4 for white and knight g8 f6 for black. Unlike the England Gambit back rank checkmate that we saw in the previous section, this checkmate is another great example of a smothered mate. All right, so we have pretty standard start. Knight f3, bishop f4. Okay, this is one trick. There's also another trick in the Budapest that I'll show you guys as well, but this is very similar to the Caro-Kann smothered checkmate as well. Okay, pretty standard. Okay, another smothered mate in this game. White only made one mistake, capturing the bishop with 8 takes b4 double question mark. Instead of the continuation of the game, white could have avoided this checkmate by playing 7 e3, stopping the eventual knight d3 checkmate, or by playing a different 8th move, 8 knight takes e5, 8 bishop takes e5, and 8 e3 all look fine for white. Conclusion. So there you have it, 10 of the fastest checkmates in chess. We saw some recurring patterns and themes, e.g. the fool's mate pattern, smothered mates, quick attacks on the f2 f7 squares, which should all be learned so you can avoid quick defeats, but also so you can earn a quick victory if given the opportunity. I hope you found this article both fun and entertaining, and remember to keep your f-pawn at home early in the game. Yes, you always keep the f-pawn at home early in the game. That's very true.